Hola clase, espero que todo vaya bien con ustedes. Today we're going to talk about telling time. The first thing that you need to know when you're telling time is your numbers. You should have already learned those. But just a refresher, 1 through 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then a little harder sometimes are the numbers between 11 and 20 for some students. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And then 30 for 30, 40, 40, 50, 50. And then you just add those in a combination like 53, 53, 42, 42. Okay, so you should have those down pretty well. Just a reminder. So we're going to start off with a couple questions that you would ask if you're going to ask about time. You're either going to ask, what time is it? How long until, how long till 8 o'clock? How much longer till 8 o'clock? Or you might say, at what time? Or if someone says the game, we're going to go to the game, you want to go, what time? So in English, at what time or what time are the same question in Spanish. So let's just talk a little bit about those two questions. I've got to move over here so you can see them. So the questions that you're going to have are, ¿qué hora es? The H is silent, so please don't say hora. It's just ¿qué hora es? What time is it? At what time or what time would be ¿a qué hora? We don't usually use the at in English, so just be careful that you don't say, oh, I don't know how to say what time. At what time? ¿A qué hora? And then there's this other one, ¿cuánto falta para las, and whatever time you're thinking. So how long till 8 o'clock? ¿Cuánto falta para las 8? How long till 3? ¿Cuánto falta para las 3? Maybe you have a meeting at 4:30. ¿Cuánto falta para las 4:30? So that's how long till such and such o'clock. All right? Those are the three questions that we're going to answer today and talk a little bit about how to answer. So the first one, if someone says, ¿qué hora es? What time is it? Then you've got some responses. There's two options here. Es la una or son las with anything else. And it doesn't have to be 1 o'clock exactly, but if this word is una, if you're going to use an una, and we'll talk about when to use una later, you're going to say es la. So from like 12:45 all the way to 1:45 or 1:30-ish, you're going to be using una. And so if you use that, use es la. For everything else, son las. It is. Okay, so it is such and such o'clock. Es la 1:30. It's 1:30. Son las 3:15. It's 3:15. And I'll explain those other phrases pretty shortly. Okay, so es la, son las is how we say it is. Now, if someone asks you, ¿a qué hora? At what time? Or what time? Like, what time is it going to be at? You can respond with one of these answers. A la una. Again, there's a distinction. If it's singular, if you're going to use the una, let's see if I can point to this, use the a la if this word is una. Even if you're saying 12:45, if you have to use the word 1 minus 15, is how we would say it in Spanish, you're going to use a la. So look at this word. If it's una, use a la. Everything else for any other time, any 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, a las. You're going to add an S right here for the hours that are after 1 o'clock. Okay, or if there's not an una, you're going to use las, a las. Okay? All right, so there's some time phrases we want to add to that. So if I said, ¿qué hora es? Son las 3. ¿Qué hora es? Es la 1. Or if I said, ¿a qué hora? What time? A las 3, at 3. ¿A qué hora? What time? A las 2:30, at 2:30. ¿A qué hora? A la 1, at 1. Okay, so those are some of the questions and answers, but you're going to not always have something on the dot. So that's those phrases you might have been hearing me say, which is y cuarto, y media. So we're going to talk a little bit about some particular phrases that go with telling time. And I wrote these kind of small, so hopefully you can still read them. So right here, and might even cover my face so that you can read it well. Let's see if I can do this. All right. So we've got y, which means and. So anytime you're looking at that clock right there and you're coming over here to this side from all the way to the 30. So 12:10, 12:15, 12:20, 12:30, any of those, we're going to say y. So if I say it's 2:10, son las dos, and then the 10 part is y 10. So you're going to add a y, which is right up here. You're going to add e anytime I want to say the minutes, okay? So 4:32, son las 4:32. Okay, y 32. Okay, so then we have this other side, menos, that we'll talk in a little bit. If we go on this side of the clock, oftentimes we subtract out, and just like in English, we'll say it's 25 till. You'll say it's 12 minus 25, or it's 11 minus 25. In English, we often leave out the hour, but we say, oh, it's 15 till, quarter to. But we do say quarter to 8, quarter to 7. So we do the same thing, but just in a little bit different order, okay? So as we go around the clock, there's a quarter and a quarter. So if it's 3:15 or quarter past 3, we'd say son las 3:15 and a quarter or quarter after. Okay. You can say y 15 like it's 3:15 or it's a quarter after 3. Down here, if it's on the 6 and it's 30 minutes past, so it's 12:30, we would use y media. Son las 2:30. It's 2:30. Okay. As we come around the clock up to the 9, we would say, we'd round up to the next hour and subtract out. You're going to say it's like quarter to 3. Okay. I'll make sure that I've got all this information here. Okay. So quarter to 3, we'd say it's 3 minus 15. Son las 3 menos cuarto. Okay. So that's one of the ways to say that. Sometimes you could say son las 2:45. It'll be understood fine. It's 2:45. But often that side of the clock we're going to subtract out rather than just say 2:45. We'll say it's 3 minus 15 or quarter to 3. Okay, so just remember to round up to the next hour, subtract out 15. There's also a really useful phrase that's very common that I'd like my students to know. It might not be in the textbook, but it's faltan and in the amount of time, para las, and the time of day. So let's say it's quarter to 3. I'd say faltan 15 para las 3. Okay? If it's 10 to 3, faltan 10 para las 3. Okay? The only time you would say falta would be if it was 1 minute till. It's like that a la una. Anytime it's 1, we have to use a singular form. So falta una para las 2. But who says there's 1 minute left till 3? I mean, I guess New Year's Eve, you might say that. So faltan plus the minutes, para las, and the time of day. Okay? And so those are our main ways to say time. Now, if we look up at the bottom, for AM, PM, you're basically going to have 3 phrases that you can use. De la mañana means in the morning. De la tarde, in the afternoon. De la noche, at night, or in the evening. So if I said it's 3:30 a.m., son las 3:30 de la mañana. For p.m., you need to decide, is it afternoon or is it night or evening? So if it was 10 o'clock, we're going to use de la noche. Son las 10 de la noche. It's 10 p.m. or 10 in the evening. Son las 3 de la tarde. It's 3 in the afternoon, 3 p.m. Okay? So hopefully that gives you an idea of how to tell time. We're going to practice a little bit with just to see if you can do these. So the first one that I want you to look at is 1:05. How would we say it is 1:05 p.m.? We'd start with es la, because the next word is going to be una. Es la una. Then we add an e in there to say and. Y 5. Es la 1:05 de la tarde. Okay, because it's p.m. afternoon. Es la 1:05 de la tarde. Let's move across to the 8:30 a.m. It is, do we choose es la or son las? I'm going to choose son las because it's plural. It's not an una that follows the phrase. So since we have an ocho, we're going to use son las. Son las 8, and to say 30:30 de la mañana. A.m. de la mañana. Son las 8:30 de la mañana. How about 9:15? Son las 9 y, we have two options here, cuarto or 15. It's quarter after or it's 9:15. Either word works. Son las 9:15 de la mañana, in the morning. The next one, it's 10:45 p.m. Now this is one of those where the minutes is past the half hour. I'm going to subtract out. So there's two options for me. Let's use this son las version. We're going to round up to 11 o'clock and say it's quarter till 11. And the way that's said in Spanish, it's 11 minus a quarter. So we're going to say son las 11 menos cuarto de la noche. 11 o'clock would be night. De la noche. Son las 11 menos cuarto de la noche. We could also use faltan 15 para las 11. Okay, 15 minutes are lacking until 11. That's what that means. Son las, or faltan 15 para las 11. And then 12 p.m., we got a new word there. I'll have to show you in a minute. For noon and midnight, let's see, this one would be noon. We're going to use mediodía. I'll show you those words in just a second. For 12:45 p.m., remember, we're on the second side of the clock after the 30 minutes. So I'm going to use 1. It's 1 minus 15 p.m., okay? So son las, can't use that one because the next word is going to be una. So we're going to start with es la. Es la 1 menos cuarto de la tarde. Es la 1 menos 15 de la tarde. I prefer cuarto, but 15 would work. And then if we want to use the faltan version, we'd say faltan 15 para la 1. Faltan 15 para la 1. Okay? So hopefully that gives you some examples and you can review this if you're doing homework and you need a little help. So these two words are important as well. Noon, mediodía, night, midnight, medianoche. Notice that this, see if I can get it. This A right here is feminine, so media noche, because noche is feminine, so that's why it's media. And día is masculine, even though it ends in A. So we're going to have mediodía. Mediodía, medianoche. Noon or midnight. 12 o'clock either end. Okay. Hopefully this was helpful for telling time. Practice, do your activities, and you'll be doing it like a pro later on. All right, bye-bye.